Welcome to the morning zoo here at the old Kumoricon after party.
We've got Jimmy and the Coon.
Ring the cowbell.
Let's go over to Larry, our eye in the sky, to find out what traffic is.
Yeah, well, I'm traveling over the I-5 corridor, and I see that there's been a 75-car pileup here at Kumoricon. I've seen one cosplayer decided to be a 500-pound Sailor Moon. That caused all the cars in the entire state to stop moving. More to you, Jim.
All right, thank you for that. Anywho, we are going back to old Crazy Carl over in the booth. Hey, Crazy Carl, you got any quips for us?
Yeah, you know your mother does.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about. All right, I'm out of materials. Let's go to a song, and yeah, I'll be back to you in a few minutes.
So, welcome to Anibros.
What episode?
This isn't an episode. This is a.
Oh, this is a special.
This is a special.
Not like the other specials that every single episode you say this is a special episode. This is a real special episode.
It just happens to be that every time the P. Rizzler comes on, it becomes a special episode.
Yeah, yeah.
We're gonna hope to fix that in the future. But for now, this is our Kumoricon special report.
K-Con, as we say in the biz.
It is day.
Little pro tip for you.
It's technically day 2, but this is our day 1 coverage. This will be no doubt cut up and stuck into a multi-part series. So, day 1, Kumoricon. Thoughts, prayers, expectations broken.
Well, how many times have we been to Old K-Con?
Well, I've never actually counted them up, but we could do that.
I'm going to take a stab in the dark and say I've been here like 5 times and you've been here like 7 times. I don't know if that's true or not. In any case, this ain't our first rodeo. You know what I'm saying, people?
It is not our last, hopefully, but certainly not our first. All right, I'm tallying them up. You talk about, what do we start doing?
Okay, well, for all of you out there who are thinking of going to Kumoricon, here for a few pro tips. If you're going to stay at Laven's house for the con, just know it gets kind of hot in the basement. So, yeah. Let's see. We got up after having spent the entire night finishing Anime Jeopardy, which is the best time to finish something.
Now,
the night before.
In all seriousness, we technically did finish it the night before, but Patrick implies that we did all the work the night before. That is not so.
Okay. And technically, we finished it the day of.
Yes, it was like 12:04 when we wrapped up operations. So, the day of Kumoricon is the day we
I think it was more like 1 in the morning. But yeah. We finished it up. And we were both rather tired. I was a little concerned because my notes for what questions and answers would be, I found out were very wrong. And so the next morning we were like, we need to find a Kinko/FedEx to print this sucker off, and I will pay any price to not look like a fool.
Turns out that price was 23 cents.
Outrageous.
And it was all charged to his card, and I'm sure his statement will reflect a weird kink 23-cent Washington, Oregon charge.
So let's see, we get there, the first few times I went there and I see all these cosplayers, I was just overwhelmed with a sense of like, what the heck, this is amazing! But this time I just kind of came up and was like, yep, that's there.
So I've written out all the years from 2006 to 2014.
Oh.
And then taken away the I think it's 2011 that we didn't go. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
I'm not. Well,
that was the downtown Vancouver hotel that messed that up.
It was there twice, and I think it was 2010 and 2011 is when it was there. So from 2006 to 2014, -1 is 8 years.
Hardcore.
So we've got, including this year. So this is our 8th year
Well, not mine, but yeah.
This is my 8th year at Kumoricon.
It's probably my, like, 6th or 5th.
Do you remember the year you started going?
Not really.
Okay.
Anywho, we get there. Hard to find parking.
Way harder than usual, but
Yeah.
to our, not our defense, but to the defense of the parking situation, we did show up at like 11:30 or 12 o'clock.
Yeah,
So usually we get there around 9 and you can find parking, but this time it was full up and the lines reflected such
We
fullness.
were a little tired, and it was taking us a while to get everything packed up. I mean, you know, it's a 3-man job, and there are 2 men doing it. You know,
That's correct. We did. We had to delegate one position to someone else. So one man did the job of 2 men.
So we get there, but eventually find a parking spot. The line was a little longer than normal. I'm thinking there just must be a lot of people there. I'm going to take a guess. 7,000. That's my guess. That's how many people.
We won't know until day 4.
I don't know if we'll even know then.
I thought they usually release the numbers of attendance on the website. By day.
But not like right away.
Oh, I thought. I always thought that we like
sweet
looked it up
time.
usually during the con, like the last day we'll check it out, or maybe the day later. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Your wager is 7,000 plus, or just 7,000.
Well, I guess plus would make it.
Do you want to make this a game where you got to try to guess the highest without going over, like Price is Right?
I guess, sure.
I'm going with 7,001.
They always shaft you over like that.
Yeah, they do.
All right. Then we. How long was that line? Like an hour?
Now, hold on. Are you going to go in terms of length or terms of time?
Time.
In terms of time, we were in that line for at least an hour, or at least
And that was the
45
pre-reg.
minutes. Pre-reg line.
How long was the reg line? That's my question.
Now, are we going to count both lines? So we lined up, and then we got in another line, and then once we got in that line, so we lined up. That line took us to another part of the same line, and then once they let us all go into the underground area, that's where it was sort of the Wild West, and everyone just started doing whatever. And then some other lady was like, registration this way. And so then we funneled ourselves into a different line. So basically we waited for the opportunity to get into the registration line.
That's Kumoricon for you. Waiting in very, very long lines.
I remember 2 years ago, they did it right. So whoever was in charge of, whoever's the line minister, you need to be back. Because if you're the same guy, you're falling very short on your job.
And then basically from the moment we got through the line on was just very quickly trying to get ready for Anime Jeopardy.
Yeah, we basically went directly to our contestant selection panel.
Well, we had to first get a box from Awaji's.
No, we did that after the panel.
Oh, you're right. You're
so
right.
we went right from there to scope out our room for contestant selection. We found some people already in line, and we didn't interact with them, but we were kind of off to the side, and we heard them, and they were like, some other chump walks up, "Is this live for Anime Jeopardy?" And Patrick was very giddy about the fact that third-party people were excited about a panel we were putting on. And I can't say that I did not feel the same way. It was like, it's nice.
It's a shame to disappoint them, but, you know, at that moment before they got into the room, it was cool.
It was good. So we scoped it out. I think we then walked away to get food or something. I don't remember. We did something else. And then we came back, set up our panel. It turns out I asked for a lot of pencils for this test because we give out a quiz. They should do the quiz, give the quiz back to us. The top 3 scores on the quiz get to be contestants. But there were no pencils. There was a bag of garbage left over by the other panel.
There was an old razor blade I figured everyone could cut themselves with and fill out the thing in blood.
Yeah.
That was my suggestion.
So there was just a bag of garbage, nothing. The old cosplay panel right before us just got out, so we're like, oh, they left their bag here. So no pencils, no liaison from the office. So we're like, all right, I'll go find out about the pencil situation. And so I left, found programming. They're like, oh, there should be pencils in the room. No, and I was I don't think that's true, but it could be because I didn't really do much looking around. I didn't see any pencils. And so, yeah, she came with me pointed out, oh yeah, they're right in that bag, which I assumed was garbage.
Yeah.
Turns out to be pencils. They put it in just a Kumoricon bag stuffed on a table. Like, I didn't know that. I probably should have thought to look there, but I didn't think that it was full of pencils.
I think we printed off 40 tests and something like around 30 were taken.
Yeah, it was a big... It's probably the same turnout for the contestant selection than the actual Jeopardy. Would you say? Just by rough...
More people came to the actual Jeopardy.
You think more people came to Jeopardy?
Not a lot more, but more people.
Yeah, but the room was... I think the room was smaller.
Oh, yeah.
We probably should have had... They probably should have flipped those around. If they were willing to give us space in both of those rooms...
Say, hey, how about this? We'll have regular Jeopardy in the morning, and then we'll have the contestant selection in the evening, and then we'll have the bigger room.
They could have just flipped this around and put whatever panel was supposed to be in that big room, in the small room, and they see how they like it for a change.
Yeah, so...
So yeah, that was annoying.
I will say a special treat for all our loyal listeners. I am planning on going through the contestant selection forms that everyone filled out and try to figure out some statistics and post them to the website. Maybe even post the quiz and you can take it at home. And
those would all be great things if any of those people knew to listen to us.
Well, someone is listening, right?
Hopefully. Well, there are humans listening, yes, but
okay.
I'm not sure if anyone from Kumoricon knows to go here to find their scores. We didn't say that until right now.
Well, it's something I was thinking.
They're gonna just be like, I guess I'm never getting those scores because we never told them to go online to find the scores.
If I had more time, I would have done this, and then I would have posted.
They really gave us.
I didn't have time.
Like a couple hours between trying to grade all those quizzes, because last year we printed off 25 quizzes and we did not get through all of them. No, not everyone took a quiz, so we figured there'd be less than 25. It was easy to grade. This was a little more, and the quiz was way longer.
Yeah.
So it took us quite a while to grade them all, and by the time that happened, we had to run to the Wajimaya booth in the dealer's room because they were gracious enough to be sponsors for our event and donate a prize pack for the winner. But going to get the prizes involved standing in the line for the dealer's room, which ate up a bunch more of our time. We had to grade tests while standing in line.
That line, that was a long line.
That was the mother of all lines so far.
What I enjoyed about it was just kind of slowly moving along, and then we were 2 people from the front, and then it just stopped for like half an hour.
Yeah, it didn't even move. And we had the staffer, guarding the front of the line, like, all right, you guys can go. And after a bit, he was just kind of gone.
And what the joke I made...
At which point, we were like, wouldn't it be funny if either we dressed up as staff, or in some time we become staff for a while and then hate it so much that we need to quit. We'll just start a line and then leave, essentially. So we see how long they'll queue up. We'll say, hey, this is the line for this. Stay here. Stand there for a bit. Let the line grow, and then say something like, "Oh, I'm gonna go check and see about how long it's gonna take," and then you leave, and you just leave, and then you see how long a bunch of chumps stay in line for, and how much going to wherever they're trying to go to is worth it to them.
A line to nowhere. At least half an hour is what those Kumoricon people will wait in a line that has no sign of moving forward. Has no one at the front of it directing you or giving you any hope.
Yeah, there was nobody. We're like, I hope... I didn't even ask them officially what this line was for.
Yeah.
I assume this is for the dealer's room. If it doesn't turn out to be like that, I'll feel like a fool. But it turns out it was. So
we eventually get in, go to the Wajimaya's booth.
We waited in the line for a half an hour.
Yeah.
Walked straight to there, and we were in there no less than 5 minutes. Grabbed the box of stuff we were promised. Left.
Thank you to Wajimaya's for
it was
sponsoring
great.
us.
We were very gracious.
They gave us a box of stuff. That was good. Headed back, got some food. Oh, we had to carry all our stuff from the car, which was semi-legally parked in a spot we probably shouldn't have parked it.
I'm going to just go off my own interpretation of the law, which it has no sort of legal training whatsoever. It's just my reading ability of signs and my reasoning for a holiday weekend is that they're not enforcing the parking in this area that we were parked at, so it would be okay.
I believe there is a part in the law that says you can't park here unless, you know, you're at a convention and like really need a parking spot. Then
There's
I
probably
guess it's
some
okay.
clause in the Washington Constitution that says that, so I think we'll be okay.
Yeah.
We also got out before we left and made sure there weren't permits on all the other cars, and it turns out there were none. And in fact, a lot of them had a bunch of anime stuff in the car, so we figured we'd be okay. It turns out that was true. We didn't get towed. No one stole our stuff. It was okay to park there.
So, setting up for old Anime Jeopardy, that usually takes a good while, and we usually only have half an hour to do it. And I know last year we were like 20 minutes late, and this year we were like 5 or 10 minutes late.
We did have the whole half an hour, mostly. It was like maybe 25 minutes because the panel before us, as usual. It's not really the panel's fault, but all panels always kind of spill over a little bit into the next panel, so
Yeah.
we didn't get the full time to set up as much as we'd like.
Luckily, we got all the tables we needed.
I made a long list of stuff we needed to make this a successful event, and I wrote it down, and I gave it to Kumoricon while I submitted the panel.
And then they put it into the shredder, which
And-
I believe is standard protocol.
I think so. And yeah, that email just gets forwarded straight to spam, and they don't actually read it because we showed up and they did get the part about 3 microphones. That was nice. But other than that, we had one table, no podium, no projector, no projection screen, not enough chairs really.
Yeah.
So
It's like,
the
yeah,
room was
there are
not-
several problems with this kiddo.
it's like they did not. I mean, we've been doing Anime Jeopardy for like 5 years, and they should know by now that we need these things. But okay, I guess you gotta do what you gotta do. We told the little tech guy who came and set up our microphones, hey man, we need all this stuff. Can we get all this stuff? He's like, I can get you a projector, but I can't get you furniture. So we made do. A little blanket fort of chairs stacked in certain ways to set computers and projectors on worked out, mostly.
I got a big box for a podium.
Yeah, they left the box, like there's a giant box with all the mixers for the rooms come in, and they're kind of just stashed off to the corner in all the panel rooms. And Patrick, it's probably like a 4-foot tall box, and Patrick just like stuck it in the middle and was like, "This is my podium." It says Yamaha on the side and is tilted, but it'll work as a podium.
Maybe they'll sponsor us next
If
year.
we would have brought like a sheet, it might have looked semi-professional, but nope. Just
Well, you were like set up on chairs, so I think semi-professional was a long ways away from a sheet over a box.
You really had to use your. Well, you could have put a sheet over the chairs, and it would have looked like tables. I think maybe tables with little funny bumps coming out the top.
So yeah, small room,
Tiny,
small crowd,
smallest.
and I don't know. We just had at it.
Yeah. So we set it up.
Yeah.
Got some help from our friends that we always see, Stacy and her crew.
Yeah. Well, why don't you just start naming all of their names, by name?
Well, I can't remember the guy's name.
Oh, Laven.
I really tried.
He helped you out.
I know, and I tried looking at his name tag, but he had a thing stuck in his badge that was covering his first name. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna have to ask him tomorrow.
All right.
So I'll edit that in, or just leave it as a joke for right now.
But let's see. If I could break it up, there's the intro video with Cypher.
Cypher, everyone's favorite anime.
Oh, I hate that. I hate that anime so
Patrick
much.
hates it so much that he insisted 3 clips be shown throughout the Anime Jeopardy.
And so we show that. No one really laughed, which is always a good sign that, you start off with the wrong foot.
Indeed.
At least it wasn't as bad as last year's intro video where no one was laughing and everyone was like, is this like some racist Japanese video?
At least we didn't make this video. Like it wasn't us just parodying everything that the anime kids love. It was actually just a clip of a funny thing.
Yeah, so it was just a clip of Cypher, and then it went back to me, and I did what you made a long monologue making fun of things that those kids love.
Now, I didn't personally feel that it went on too long. but I did sense the room really wanting you to wrap it up. I was laughing and having a good time, but I'm like, this is a long speech.
How long was it?
Well, probably 20 minutes.
No, it was not.
No, probably not that long, but it was. I didn't time it, so I don't know.
It was at least 5 minutes.
It was at least 5 minutes. It was probably 10 minutes. Like, no lie. It was probably 10 minutes.
Yeah, and I went out of my way to make fun of, like, pretty much every category of Kumoricon.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I could understand if you're like, yeah, I spent $600 coming to this thing, so it's good of you to make fun of it.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. I flew from New Jersey all the way here, and I appreciate you didn't make fun of me. But we recorded the speech, and we'll post it online so you can just see for yourself if it was funny or not.
Yeah. It was not the best audio and not the best speech, but what can you do? I got a few chuckles.
Yeah, I found that it didn't look like people were annoyed with what was happening. They just were like, if you could just play Jeopardy. I'd really appreciate it.
Yeah. So then we got our 3 contestants. One of them, he was at last year's thing, and he was doing all right. The other fellow's doing all right. The girl wasn't doing quite as good.
It was 2,000 points. By the end, it was the 2 people had 1,000 or more points, and she had negative 1,000 points.
I felt bad for her.
Typically how it goes. For some reason, our patented test selection it turns out 2 pretty good contestants and 1 ringer who can't seem to get any questions.
I think she was in a 4-way tie for 3rd, and we just happened to pick her. But
Yeah.
I don't know. For all I know, if we picked one of the other people randomly, they'd have not have done as well.
You can't know. It's pretty much impossible.
So yeah, they were there hitting their dog chew toys to.
Yeah, we lost the bells. That's another story. That's a pre-Kumoricon story. While taking a break from making Jeopardy the night before Kumoricon, we needed to go get a few things, and those things included dry erase boards for Final Jeopardy, and also some sort of buzzers. Probably the most important part that the bells are missing. Let's just put it at that. We don't know where the bells are.
I think Kenny took them, but yeah, we don't know.
Kenny probably has the bells. I don't think that's true because I think we used the bells last year, but I'm just going to blame it on him. He probably has the bells.
Kenny, get us our bells back.
Or engineer a system better than bells. We'll take that as a repayment. But instead, it was actually pretty lucky, and it worked out way better than I thought. I had like a vague, dumb idea that these dog squeak toys would work. Like, okay, they make noise. It'll be fine. And they're shaped like surfboards, so they're flat. They lay flat on the ground, and you just can hit them, and they'll make squeak noises. And I'm like, this is not going to work, but it is a thing, and they're 90 cents each. And let's just do this. And they did work. They were audible from where I was.
Yeah.
And the line judge was able to figure out who buzzed in first.
Yeah.
It actually worked way better, like way 120% better than I thought it would work.
So, first round, I think it went fairly well. There may have been only like 1 or 2 categories in all of Jeopardy that they just were not getting any of them. So
Yeah. I didn't feel that the questions were too hard. Maybe it was just subject matter that those 3 happened to not know anything about.
Yeah, some subject matters, you like that genre and you'll get all of them, and maybe you won't, and it's just hard to know beforehand.
I think well, I'll get to it when we get to the end.
Yeah. So first round's over. We then go into our intermission. I will have to say, apologize to our 3 contestants, because I was anticipating actually saying their names and asking them what they did, because at the beginning I do a little joke where I'm like, oh, here we have Jerome. He's a 35-year-old plumber.
Jerome is his real name.
Who enjoys walking on the beach. And every single one of them, I just kept saying they were a 35-year-old plumber. And I forgot to ask them who they actually were and where they were from and such. Oh, so sorry. But we did, at halftime, have a small Anibros award ceremony.
We did. Now, this came to my attention actually the night before Kumoricon. I didn't think we'd do this. Usually during the intermission, we take a couple drinks of water and then get right back to it. But Patrick was like, hey, I made this slideshow. And I was like, oh, okay. And we look at it, and I'm like, oh, there are like 15 slides here. Oh, there's Academy Awards, but it's an Annie. an Annie Award for a bunch of various categories that are ridiculous.
I could be wrong, but I got the feeling people weren't enjoying that.
I don't think they didn't know what was going on pretty much. They're like, who are these bros? Who made this god awful PowerPoint with what was my name?
Was I calling you something other than Laven?
In the
you were the Shoeshine Boy.
Well, Shoeshine Boy was my title.
Something
but
Laven.
It was another L alliteration, but I wish I could think of it, but I cannot.
Anywho, yeah, we basically went through the different animes that I had just happened to see recently, and then I made up some comment about something I disliked about it, and made a kind of like most newspaper shoved into a pocket award, and then shoved the anime, and I'm not sure people enjoyed that.
They didn't really. They laughed a little during like, the crowd made some noise, like the decibel in it, like made a little peak, but it was not like oh good, yay! It was like a
another one.
Yeah,
that's
it was like
good.
A ha ha. Oh,
they did clap that Cypher was such a terrible anime and had been going on for a while.
It's true,
and that was my second clue.
Yeah, so we'll get more on that in a minute. But after the awards, we bring them all back in. Startups,
except for the people who got up and left during the awards, but
there were only like 3 people who left. 3 or 4. It was a very small handful. No, I watched. It was not that many. I made sure because I'm like, this is when people will leave, and I turned around and it was just a couple. They got up, but most people stick around. Don't ignore Patrick. It's not a lot of people left.
So then we go to the second round. I forget what, every year, by which I mean both years, there are several fundamental anime Jeopardy rules I find out for the first time. I think this time someone like said 1 or 400 and just kind of like out of the blue. And I'm looking and I'm like, that is not the question I have for 400. And I realized, they're double the points in the second round.
Yeah, 2, 4, 6.
So,
8, 1,000.
Yeah, you get shocked sometimes.
And my favorite part about that is that the contestants are the ones who are like, I think it's actually like this. And the host is like,
okay,
my mistake. Let me just fix my notes here.
I do know when I was going through each of the categories, I usually, something pops up, I give a little spiel about it. And then they had the, what was that category with the... little sisters having a lazy eye for their older brothers.
Dysfunctional sibling relationships.
And when I kind of mentioned that, the whole crowd was like, oh. Yeah. The contestants did not get a whole lot of those questions right.
I don't think that was engineered in such a way to where they would.
Yeah. Some of the questions I'm like, now that is vague, but all right.
I think the joke is the question, and that was basically a throwaway category.
So the second category did all right, except for the little sister category. I think people got them. Then what was it? Daily Double shows up, and it's a clip, and it's just some weird Pillsbury Doughboy walking around. And I turn to the guy. I'm like, "All right, what's that from?"
And he's like,
no freaking idea.
I just don't know. And that's when Patrick jumps in with,
oh, come on, man, it was Cypher. I already showed you a clip from Cypher.
And the entire crowd immediately, and they just all instantly were like, that, we were all tricked, and it was a great joke, and they really loved it.
I kid you not, that was probably the funniest thing they
Everyone was cheering and laughing. They're like, that's great.
Good old Cypher.
It was awesome.
And then it was downhill from there. And
yeah, basically we just sort of did the rest of the categories.
Yeah.
Did Final Jeopardy, which kind of got botched. And not so bad. They still were able to do Final Jeopardy, but
yeah,
it wasn't the best.
The answer was revealed a little beforehand, but I watched them. None of them changed their answers.
Yeah, people were shouting out like, "You're not doing it right."
Yeah.
And we were like, "What?" And we kind of accidentally clicked the slide for the answer, and before it was too late. Yeah. But they had already started writing, so it was okay.
I will say, the question the night before, I protested. I didn't think it was a good question, but
2 of the 3 got it.
2 of the 3 got it.
And one of those 3 were the lady who didn't have any points, which we should have told her beforehand. You can't wager any points if you don't have any points. You have to wager 0. But
she got it.
She wagered like 22,000 points.
She
only
wagered 4,000
points, and she only had negative 1,800 points. We're like, you would have won, maybe, but
maybe
you can't wager that many unless you could borrow from someone.
So yeah, handed out the prizes, put up the credits. People were getting the heck out of there.
Yeah, they were.
And then we put up another clip of Cypher, and people were really getting the heck out of there.
Yeah, they laughed. Somebody came up to me afterwards and was like, "Now, what is this show? Is it really as bad as this guy's saying?" I'm like, yeah, it's pretty bad. And then he's like, "I'm gonna go watch it." So if we turned on one person to Cypher, that's a job well done to me.
Yeah. Well, anywho, if you think we could have done better, maybe leave a comment telling me what I should have done.
Maybe fill out a postcard.
Yeah.
Send it to Anibros, care of Monsignor Meissen.
Mm-hmm. Send us your letters, your rants and raves.
Now, I did recently get an update from one of my friends at the Postal Service, and she told me that she was infuriated with our non-understanding of how the mail system works in our recent mailbag episode. And it turns out that Miyazaki would have sent a letter that needed to be signed for if it was a real cease and desist letter, and it wouldn't have piled up in the mailbag for several days. Therefore, revealing that it may have been a fake.
Well, maybe Miyazaki didn't realize that rule. You know?
That's what I tried to argue, but she's like, I don't think that's going to hold up.
All right. I'm looking at this. Afterwards, we just went, ate, and then came back and... we went watched some anime. I think we just needed to waste time.
Yeah, there was nothing really going on until a little later. Until money management was the thing we wanted to stop in and see what that was about.
What did we watch?
Okay, we watched... I do not know the titles of these shows, but it was some show about Boobs McGee.
Yeah, she was there.
She was talking to Boobs McGee.
Yeah, she was also there.
And, well, they were both at the bar or something, and then Boobs McGee...
Oh, you were talking about those girl. I thought you were talking about...
Well, hold on, I'll get there. And then, so Boobs McGee is talking to Boobs McGee at the bar.
Yeah.
Boobs McGee pours her a drink, or a gourd full of something. They cut away to Boobs McGee, far away. And
that's the main character,
fighting,
Boobs McGee.
Fighting with Boobs McGee.
Yeah.
And then Boobs McGee captures Boobs McGee. Then they do some talking, and some men are there. And then the men and Boobs McGee fight Boobs McGee on a horse.
Although there is just a regular girl on the horse, and she's not Boobs McGee.
No, yeah, I didn't thought about it. Mm-hmm. So it was Boobs McGee on the horse, a big man. Was he on a horse, or is he on a horse? I think he was just by himself, just huge, as big as a horse.
Big old hammer.
And then a regular girl on a horse.
Yeah, so if you know what that anime was, please write it in the comments.
We didn't look, but we were like, all right. Has to do... No, it doesn't have to do with apples. That's the next show.
Basically, when we say... Usually every anime, a character shows up, and she has large breasts, and they're hardly covered, and that's like her character. That's the only reason she's there, is to be looked at. And this show, almost every single female character was that.
Just too big of breasts, and they're just flopping around in a non... it's fine if that's going to happen, but this is not realistic. She's fighting. Okay, like, I don't know women who go jogging like that. You're not going to be able to do your crazy fight spin gun moves if you're constantly worried about your like triple D size breasts like in a way. That's not going to work.
I also enjoy they were just constantly moving like a bobblehead, dude. You're just like, is there no gravity on this planet?
Yeah, it was. They were all Boobs McGee. Is basically what you got to take away from this.
Yeah.
Not a good show. It was just a lot of fighting, a lot of nonsense occurring.
Yeah.
So whatever, it is what it is.
I think we got up and left at that point.
Yeah, did we watch 1 or 2 episodes? I think just one.
Just the one.
Just the one.
And then I think we just walked around and came back.
No, didn't we go see?
No, I think that was after.
We came back, yeah.
Yeah, and went and said, let's just pick this room and see what they got. And they had something all right.
Which was the first thing?
The reverse harem. That's right.
No. We watched. We watched the Boobs McGee show.
Yeah.
And then right after we watched 2 episodes because right after that we're like, oh, this is gonna be the next episode. It was actually Joan of Arc, the anime. They're burning
we watched the first 30 seconds,
and
of
we're
that.
like, well. We thought that we had watched episode 2 of the one, and so we kind of stayed because we're like, well, is this episode 3 of the thing? Because we'll leave after episode 3. And then we're like, I don't think this is the same show. They're just burning a girl at the stake in the 1400s, and then
she's in Japan,
it cuts away to some Japan part, and there's somebody on fire, and they're switching bodies. I don't know, but we're like, this is not the same thing. Let's leave. And that's when we...
Yeah, then we eventually come back to the reverse harem show.
Yeah. That was a terrible, terrible show.
Oh my!
And not because it's a reverse harem. That was the best. Like what you could say was maybe a pro about it compared to all the many cons.
Anywho, eventually we get to our panel. I've been waiting all day for this. Money Managing 101. The first time I saw that, I was like, no, this cannot be a thing. And it was. And I've been talking about it for a long time. I've been studying up, reading the Wall Street Journal, going to ask, some tough questions. We got in there. It was not what I expected.
That's true. Not necessarily in a bad way, but it didn't seem prepared. It seemed prepared in the wrong ways. She was prepared to give a panel. Like, straight up. She had a bowl of candy.
Yeah.
And some treats and a butler.
Yeah.
Every time someone answered a question, she would have the butler give a candy, or she had some bags of tea that people could take instead.
She seemed to be doing it all in character.
Yeah, she was doing it in her character. She had another assistant with a whiteboard, and she passed out these papers to everyone who came in, and they were all about budgeting for the convention.
Yeah.
So in all theory, it should have been a great panel.
It had a lot of potential.
It did.
And it was her first one.
Her first panel ever.
She's kind of young.
She never had used a microphone before.
That was an interesting comment.
She didn't know what they were. Magic, maybe. But she didn't know what a microphone was, and she had never given a panel before. Yet, she had all these things that you'd think you learn your lesson after the first time you give a panel.
Yeah.
But nope, she just must have saw enough panels in her day where she's like, you got to get these masses on track with candy, or they don't listen to you and they riot.
Anywho, I think the main problem was it just didn't move along quickly.
No, she didn't really have a...
And there were very long, awkward pauses that I was like, are you nervous, or are you just trying to remember something?
She was kind of a soft-spoken lady.
Yeah.
She was like a soft-spoken, outspoken type of a person, where she had things to say, and didn't have a problem really saying them, but she didn't have maybe like solid bullet points of what she wanted to say, and you couldn't really hear her very well.
Anywho, here are some hot tips. Buy your badge early. That saves money.
She said that about 17 times.
You have to think about how much gas costs if you want to drive up.
Yep.
And airplane tickets cost money.
They do.
If you carpool, that saves money.
You could take the train. That is an option of transportation. Sometimes cheaper than a car.
Sometimes cons will have hotels that give you special deals.
It was basically just stuff like that. And
if you find a penny on the street, you can pick it up and have a penny.
We were there for a half an hour, and all those tips that Patrick just suggested were what we learned in that entire half an hour. In between the tips, she would just basically call on people to just volunteer how much they spent for things.
Yeah.
And
apparently $600 is a common amount.
Yeah, $600 is like the maximum or the average that you should be budgeting for your convention experience.
Yeah. Is $200 for a cosplay like just A-okay?
I don't think so. Maybe if you're going to cosplay something different for all 3 days, then I could see that. But no.
All right. After about half an hour of that, I left. What did we go to next? The CI Game Show panel. What did CI stand for?
It's the name of their trope.
The kind of semi-professional go around to different cons, right?
Yeah, in the past they've had the anime hunters, but this year they have these new guys, and I don't know what CI stands for. Yeah. Go on.
It was pretty professionally. Well, it was well put together.
Yeah.
It looked better than ours, and that PowerPoint we have is pretty
now,
good.
I must say they stole.
They did steal
a bunch
some
of our
questions.
stuff,
yeah.
And even our friends said, "Hey, you guys made these jokes earlier today," and they made our same jokes, and we're like, "Look at these guys! This professional troupe gets the big room, the big stage, the big PA system. They were like 1,000-watt monitor amplifiers there, just shouting so loud. Like if they were yelling, it was almost deafening. And we got the chump room." And made jokes of the same tier that they would have made. So, what the heck?
Yeah. I was a little annoyed.
Yeah, they're pretty much better than the anime hunters, I have to say. they made actual jokes that were pretty funny.
All right, Layman, why don't you tell the people what did they just kind of bring people up from the audience. Go through different trivia questions.
It was basically just an hour and a half. What does it say on there? An hour and a half of a block of time, just called game show.
Yeah.
And what they did was they had 3 different game shows prepared, and they would have groups come up, and they had like an elaborate buzzer system and all this stuff. And they'd come up and they would play They played Wipeout at first, and they were all anime related. Well, we thought they'd all be anime related, and they started out being that way, but it turns out that their subject matter was just kind of nerdy, comic-y stuff in general. So they had video game questions and comic book questions and anime questions. And it was Wipeout, so they had like a grid, and they have a theme, or like what was the first one? Shows that came out before 2010. And so they had a grid of like 20 shows, and they're like, 6 of these shows came out before 2010. So you have to pick one. You have to try to eliminate the ones that didn't, and then you can pass your turn until there are none left, and so you force the last person to have to pick a Wipeout, and then they lose all their money. Kind of a deal. That's what I understood. I've never seen or played Wipeout before, but that was what I understood by watching it and asking people what was going on.
I would say maybe they should mention some of the rules before playing their games.
I agree, except that would make us hypocrites, because we did not do that.
Well, we didn't know the rules, though, so we couldn't explain them.
Fair enough, but they may also have not known the rules. They might have watched Wipeout once and then made a game.
I thought Wipeout was like a...
It also is a challenge game now, but in the 60s, it was a game show.
Oh, okay. All right. After that, I left, so...
Yeah, Patrick decided he had enough of this and thought...
I had enough.
He was very upset that anyone would waste their time with this god-awful trivia.
It wasn't, it was well put together, and if I knew Xbox 360 launch titles, then I probably would have enjoyed it more, but except for that one category, I just had no idea what they were and didn't find it
they
enjoyable.
Actually started sort of getting into after Wipeout, they played some other game where it was like, I have no idea what this is supposed to be called, but there were some hieroglyphics, and you click on a hieroglyphic, and then you get presented with some options, and it's basically our common bonds, but there are 4 of them, and they appeared like you got 10 seconds to figure out. They just give you one. They'd be like, I don't know, they'd give you Goku, and then they'd give you Vegeta, and then after 10 more seconds, they'd give you Frieza, and then you're supposed to figure out, they're all Dragon Ball Z characters or whatever. And so, but they started getting really weird and hard. So you're like, these are all things that have to do with each of the book titles of the Game of Thrones books.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, okay, that's hard. Then not about anime. So, yeah, I thought our common bonds were kind of stretching it, but theirs were like, you have to be on the ball. And everyone seemed to accept them as, those are questions. So
yeah, for our panel, whenever I was like, has anyone seen this anime? No one had. People were kind of like, that question was too hard.
Yeah, that was a chump move.
For these questions were insanely hard, and everyone was like, that's cool. I don't really
Yeah,
get it.
that's a
but
hard
it's
one. Good question. Maybe we don't draw like the good trivia crowd, and we draw like the weird game showy crowd who wants to know all the answers. But
did anyone actually like win a prize?
yeah, they gave out stuff.
What?
I learned later that they play Press Your Luck last, but they had a little intermission, and Patrick wanted to go home, and he was my ride. So I went back to my house and then drove back to the con, missing that segment. Turns out that was the best segment of all three of them, is what they told me. And they gave out like a plushie and a bunch of prizes for the winners of Press Your Luck. So
then you went to...
Didn't get to see any of that. And then I went, but I did go to, because I wanted to see At Midnight, which is a Comedy Central game show that came out either this year or last year. And it was just that with 3 people from their troupe. And
no, it's 18 plus, so they must have done something risque.
they cursed, and that's it. Just talked about things that were not for little kids specifically.
Oh.
Just because it's 18 plus just means you can curse and say shit if you need to. And they did a few times. That was about it. They just played At Midnight. Like, it didn't really have anything to do with anime, except for some of the hashtag wars were anime Kumoricon related. But it was sort of like a mix of general stuff and then also like, oh, and also, get it? Dragon Ball.
All right, well, that was that. Anywho, it's like going back to day.
Yeah, this was just day one.
Yeah.
We've probably talked a lot about day one.
Got 3 more days to go. We'll bring you some more good stuff in the next podcast.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get some con floor interviews from some people today. And yeah, that's day one. Stay tuned. Exactly. All right, so this is day two. Abridged, I guess. Abridged coverage. It's just me and my impromptu friends. We didn't actually get any of the other Anibros to decide that it was more important enough to come here. So, thoughts? You have anything to say? This is not official, really. It will get released, but...
Well, today we checked out the pro bending tournament, some of the preliminaries, and then pretty much all of the finals, which was pretty exciting. We saw it last year when they had the finals outside at the Red Lion, and it wasn't very crowded over there. I don't think many people knew about it because barely anybody was there back then. But this time they had it inside at the main event, so it was really crowded and a lot of fun, everybody cheering, having a good time, balls flying all over the place, people getting hit in the head, hit in the throat, calling timeouts for injuries. It was a good time.
Completely. It was, it's dodgeball, but it's dodgeball based off an anime. So you gotta have, well, yeah, not a real anime, but, it's a cartoonish, I suppose. It's on Nickelodeon. Let's see. From there, we went to Legends of the Hidden Temple of Time, which was produced by Ninja of the Night, a cosplay anime group.
Here. In an official kind of capacity doing stuff.
Let's see. Ninja of the Night and, I think it's just Ninja of the Night. Yeah, it might be. Zach Marsh and Dane Dorenzi went to Legends of the Hidden Temple of Time. It was, if you've ever seen a Legends of the Hidden Temple from the classic Nickelodeon game show,
Was there a giant obstacle course at the end? Did they wheel out the big face and like everything?
They attempted to do something like that, but they ran out of time.
Oh, they never ran out of time. They never had one ready.
Correct. They had something almost sort of maybe pre-planned.
Tires you had to go through. And they're like, all right, you did it.
Their main thing was three-legged race. Way to go.
Okay, that's not.
Yeah. So they sort of had the three-legged race starts with one person with the Triforce of Courage, and then you run over to another person who has to recreate one of the songs from Ocarina of Time to get the Triforce of Wisdom. Then you run over to the final spot where you get the Triforce of Power, and you got to put them all in the correct order.
All right, that does sound actually like a thing that is similar to the thing in the real show. That counts.
It almost got there. Most of it went almost okay, except for this one little snafu in the middle of it where apparently somebody who'd never seen any kind of game show at all and didn't realize that teams get eliminated. When her team was eliminated, she decided to throw a monumental temper tantrum. Collapsed in the middle of the floor, wouldn't move, and when somebody tried to console her to get her to leave, she ran across the floor, grabbed a bunch of papers they were setting up for the next event, crumpled them up, tore them up, and then and then screamed violently before she ran out of the room screaming and crying.
Best panel ever.
This occurred right after I left. I went there. First of all, the line was like as long as any of the rest of the lines in this whole place. And they sat you guys first because you were in front of us. Yes. And then they cut it off. So we were standing outside, and they were like, well, you guys can wait here in line, and if anyone leaves, we'll let people in. So we waited there for a while. I went in. It seemed really boring and dumb. And then I left. Yeah, it apparently was that. And then I left. And then I saw you guys later, and you're like, you missed the crazy temper tantrum of this crazy girl. And I was like, I left not even for anything better. I left and just sort of wandered around. I would have just put up with boredom if I would have got to have a payoff of a temper tantrum, but... All right. Oh, what did you guys go to after that?
We went... After that, we entered we entered the line for the Whose Line Is It Kumoricon, and apparently we were too far behind that we were not allowed in. So instead, we just participated in the conventional line simulator.
Whoa! What does that mean exactly? So you waited in line, and then instead of going to the panel, you waited in another line?
Yes, we waited in a line just to wait in a line.
Right.
That was the entire ride.
What did you guys do instead of a Whose Line?
That was the line that we rode, and
we went to the line ride at Subway, got some food, came back, then we waited in a hallway while I charged my phone. And then we wandered into a room with people in Kigu-style pajama party, where they were playing a epic game of spoons, where they had to run across the room to get the spoon, so there was a lot of violence there. Yeah, and then after that they were playing Duck, Duck, Goose, also quite violently, it seemed, dropping all over the room. And then after that we decided to go not yet form a line for the next thing we were going to, because it was more than 30 minutes before, but went to form the pre-line, which is just kind of hanging near the room but not being officially a line, so you don't have to disband if somebody tells you. So then we went to the stand-up comedy panel. We often go to panels not knowing whether it's going to be good or it's going to be so much of a train wreck that it's good, or so much of a train wreck that it's terrible. This one kind of ended up being the third. We got some laughs, very awkward, but overall we were just kind of shaking our heads like these. Even people who were supposedly prepared were just kind of mumbling through what they were trying to say, and some who seemed, well prepared and well prepared to talk about their stuff, just wasn't that funny.
Yeah, that was a train wreck. That was not good. It was the opposite of good. And then we came here, and we're currently waiting in line for what is this? Wheel After Dark, which. But from that ominous title, I had no idea what that meant. But after that, let's see, we went to... Where did we go after that? There wasn't a lot. We did, mostly between the things, we did a lot of wandering around. Yeah, we wandered about for quite a while. We stood in line for Legends of the Hidden Temple, I think, directly after that. Yeah. Yeah, and then... Yeah, so then we ran into you guys in the line, then wandered around a bit more, wandered around the park, wandered around to the dealer's room, got bored. There was nothing really happening until Who's Line for me, so I got in line for that. We were in line for Legends of the Hidden Temple, like I said, and we didn't get in, so Patrick left, and I stayed in line. And then after that, I went to... get Subway, I think. I think I went to eat, and then when I was coming back, I noticed a large line, and I didn't think anything of it because I knew Whose Line was like 2 hours from that time, or maybe an hour and a half. It's probably an hour and a half. And so I'm walking and see this line, whatever line, walking. I hear just somebody to the side of me say, "Oh, hey, what's this line for?" "Oh, it's for Whose Line." So I immediately stopped. Like, I guess I'm not going to my car. I guess I'm gonna line up. Instead of that, so I immediately got in line, which at that point was already to the stairs, which is, I don't know, like more than 50 feet. It was like a 100-person line at that point. So I got in line, and you guys weren't even like close to outside the panel, out of your panel. So by the time you got around to it, it was like triple the size of when I started standing in line. So. Yeah, that's when our paths crossed, was right after that. I got out of Whose Line. It was pretty funny. And, yeah, from then on, we went to the god-awful garbage panel, also known as Anime Stand-Up. If anyone from Kumoricon is listening to this, please, for the love of God, don't approve that panel next year. Approve anything else. Maybe give Anime Jeopardy a better time slot in lieu of making them a thing. That's just shameless promotion. But yeah, that was the experience so far. Standing in line, a lot of lines, a lot of standing. Standing in lines. Kumoricon, standing in lines, the con. Day 2. I don't know what day 3 will hold, but it'll probably be more lines, etc. So stay tuned for that coming up next, or something.